Thank you, Barry. Beautiful introduction, just like a rose. This speech is from the Leadership and Excellence manuals, and it's supposed to be a scripted speech. And what I'm going to do is I am going to deviate away from that script. And the reason I'm going to do that relates to a question that you have on the handout in front of you, and that is, what are leaders paid to do? Or what are leaders expected to do? I'll come back to that a little bit later. Now, the speech and the script from this Toastmaster Leadership Series talks and presents two different decision styles. One is the authoritative leader, which we usually call a command decision. The other is a team leader. And they, as you see on the piece of paper, they say a lot of not so nice things and a cornucopia of reasons why you shouldn't make authoritative decisions. One, that you want to control everything, you make all the decisions, you discourage communication, you tell people what to do, you punish mistakes. You discourage personnel, and you discourage personnel growth. And in contrast, in a leadership style of team leadership, it encourages participation, facilitates communication, facilitates problem solving, tolerates mistakes, fosters personal growth, and persuades others by buy-in. So you would think that leadership by authoritarian is really not such a good thing when you put it that way. There really are four different leadership styles, not only authoritative, command, there's also a consultative decision where people provide you input and then you make a decision. There's a vote, which we do during elections, and it has some strengths because you definitely have a winner. It has weaknesses because the people who voted against the person don't really buy into what they're doing. And then there's consensus. When this team, then the assignment goes over how important it is to use this team approach to be a participant in Toastmasters, which I think is important, but I'm going to approach it in a different way. So let me go back to the question of what are leaders paid to do? Anyone have a guess? Lead. That's why exactly what I mean, ultimately, again, there's words in your handout a little bit below that to tip you to that, but ultimately leaders are paid to make choices. They're paid to make choices. Now, I choose not to read the script. I didn't consult with anyone. I did not take a vote, and I did not get consensus. I made a command decision, and I hope that decision ultimately creates greater value for you to achieve the speech's objectives, but maybe in a different way. And today I'm going to tell you a little more about how we make choices based on our beliefs and the things that we find that are intolerable to us, which also align with our beliefs. I'm going to illustrate the consequences of decisions and why it's so important that decisions are made based on things that we hold dear in our beliefs. And then I'm going to reinforce the importance of communication. Now, I have Pat Murray to thank. I was at a business retreat this last weekend, and he spoke a lot about leadership and choices and making decisions. So if there's anything really bright out of this, thank Pat, and I'm just passing it on. So the first area is that decisions need to be made based on your beliefs. So it's really important to understand yourself and understand why you make certain decisions. Now, I'll give examples of here at the National Swimming Pool Foundation what my beliefs are for this organization, and then you can think more about what your beliefs should be for your organization as well as yourself. Ultimately, our end game is service. It's our culture. It's ultimately how we create the value in society and earn prosperity by serving others who ultimately fulfill our mission. But we also, as part of our culture and belief system, believe that our products and programs have to be preeminent. They have to be scientifically sound, impartial. They have to be convenient and easy to use for our customers. And then third, the product should be customized to really suit a specific segment within a geography or a specific segment within the market. And when you think about customization of your products, really maybe that's just another way of saying that we're providing service, because what works for you maybe not work for you, and we have to be able to customize those products. But the other factor that we need to use when we make decisions as leaders, because we're paid to make choices, are the things that are intolerable to us. So first and foremost to me is that it has to be, and it should not be, immoral or unethical. Now, I'll tell you more about consequences for this, but let me just share a story with you. Prior to coming to the foundation, I worked for Biolab. Biolab and Arch Chemicals were the two largest manufacturers of pool and spa chemicals in the world. I was a chairman on a committee that looked at all technical documents that came out of the trade association. And the first 3 years, as I was learning what was going on, I was just a member of that committee, and then I became chair and held that chair position for 5.5 years. If I used that position to my advantage and to my company's advantage, what do you think the relationship would have been with both of those companies after leaving and coming to a nonprofit foundation that provides education, potentially to both of those organizations? If I did not do things ethically and honestly and openly and work with our competitors, today they would not be one of our customers. And the company I came from, if I acted that way, the likelihood is they would not be our customers too. But today, both of those companies use this foundation's materials for training their personnel. So making sure that you do things ethically, for me, is something that I think everyone should be looking at as an intolerable. Now here's another thing. Let me ask you a question. What type of organization focuses the most of their teachings on right and wrong? On morality and immorality? What did you say?
Religious?
Religious organizations. So I think that whether or not you believe in religion, whether or not you believe in God, I think everyone should go to a church of some sort. Because there are very few places where you could have experts helping you teach lessons that have lasted thousands of years to help you understand what's moral and what's immoral. And understanding morality and understanding what's right for you and what's wrong for you, regardless of your religious beliefs, are places is rare that you can get those type of lessons. And we live in a city where there's some extraordinary teachers. Because ultimately, understanding the difference between right and wrong, helping build your beliefs relative to morality will help make you a better leader. Secondly, on things to me that are intolerable relates to relationships. No bullying, no harassing, no blaming, not my fault, and no whining. I'm not a big fan of whining. And the other thing that I believe in organizations that is intolerable is to have spectators. People should be engaged and participating in the organization, whatever organization that is. So beliefs and intolerables are keys to being able to make choices, and choices are what define you as a leader. But it's also important to know that those things also have consequences. As a leader, there are no trivial acts. As a leader, there are no trivial choices. Those acts and choices determine if people see us as leaders. We may never know which acts and choices resonate for decades. A few months ago, I was an audience member at the Storybook Project, and we have a couple of our team members here who spoke at those, but the guy who spoke told a story about when he was a little boy, and he asked his mother about their family cat. And the family's cat was one of those cats where the tail was always standing completely straight up. And he asked his mother, does the tail get tired? The mother, being busy in the kitchen, stopped, looked at the boy, thought for a moment and said, about as tired as you get, holding up your eyelids. And the boy went, I thought I had to hold up my eyelids. So I'm not tired at all. But in that moment, by being engaged, by being thoughtful, this helped him 30 years later speak about what a great leader his mother was and what a good mother she was. So the consequences of what we do when we make moral decisions relative to our beliefs, often we never know what the consequences will be. When he asked his mother 10 years later about that episode, she didn't even remember it. So being engaged, being there at that moment is really important because we never know what the impact will be years later. The third area that's important relative to leadership, in addition to our beliefs, our intolerables, and making sure that we are there at the moment and that the consequences we never know, involve communicating choices. And it's important, and the role here at Toastmasters is really important to build our ability to communicate choices. Choice is not communicated, or choice is not done. Choice is poorly communicated, or choice is poorly done. So it's important that you participate in Toastmasters. You participate in, as an officer, you participate in club contests. Because the thoughts and preparation that you do here will distinguish you a leader by defining your beliefs and being able to identify what your intolerables are. The thoughts and preparation here will distinguish you as a leader by being there at the moment and being engaged with people at that moment. And the experiences that you create here and the thoughtfulness you have here may even create, it's a possibility, maybe not a probability, but maybe you could even beat Natalie Johnson in the speech contest that day. Mr. Toastmaster.